Hey guys, welcome to Home Sweet Homeschool. If you're new here, my name is Ashley and I'm a homeschooling mom to one. And today I want to share with you something I'm so passionate about, and that is how to create a unit study. And I promise, unit studies are not something to be afraid of. Anybody can do it, even you. And I'm going to talk about some really simple ways to create a unit study by showing you how I created our Wilderness Survival School unit study. So I am going to be looking down at my notes so I don't miss anything, but I want to show you how simple it is. You don't need a lot of materials and tools to plan a unit study or a cute little printed out page, though those help. Those are a lot of fun. I'm going to show you how simple it is by using just a notebook. Now, this notebook, you can tell I use it. This is a 3-subject notebook that I actually started with at the beginning of the school year. This is where I write down all my thoughts and ideas for just about everything. And as you can see, this doesn't look like 3 subjects anymore. So all you need is a simple little notebook, a pen or a pencil, and you are good to go. You are ready to start planning. All right, let's talk about unit studies in general first. So first of all, unit studies can be really short, just lasting a week to 2 weeks, or they can go up to 6 weeks or longer, depending on how interested your kids are or what it is that you're trying to teach. Also, unit studies are a great way to combine all your subjects, combining history and science and all those things in one and teaching all your kids at the same time. And they really are great for helping your kids make connections to all of those things and see how they relate. So I love unit studies, and I want to use them in my home as long as I can. So let's get into what you need to do first. The first thing I would do is talk to your children. Your kids know better than you what they're interested in and what they want to learn about. So definitely talk to them and say, what are you interested in learning? What is something you want to know more about? That's the first place to start. Like I've said in some of my past videos, my son came to me and asked to do this survival skills wilderness theme. So sometimes they may come to you with their ideas, and if they're not, go to them and talk to them because they're going to know the best. If they're not coming to you with ideas, and even when you talk to them they say like, I don't know, then it's our job as parents to expose our kids to things. So think of things that you want your child to know about and plan a unit study about it, because exposure is how children learn. So either talk to them or come up with your own based on what you want them to know. So that's step one, just to simply see what they're interested in. Now, and the way that I did that is I sat with my son on the couch when he came to me and he said he wanted to know more about survival and wilderness and camping. We sat down on the couch one afternoon and I said, okay, what do you want to know? And as simple as this, I know you're not going to be able to read it, and I would love to maybe do some overhead shots of what this looks like, and I can show you that at the end of the video maybe. But this just says, what do you want to know? I wrote it with a blue highlighter that I had handy. And some of the things he said was, what do I do if an animal attacks? How do I start a fire? Poisonous plants, leaf identification, how do I find clean water? How do I make a shelter? How do you use a compass? And how do I avoid getting frostbite? So those were just some of the things that he came up with. I used to do this same thing with my kids at school. We called it a KWL chart. What do you want to know? What do you already know? I guess is where you start. What do you already know? What do you want to know? And what did you learn? So it's kind of like that, but not in a chart form. So as simple as writing it down, you could do it on a scratch piece of paper, a Post-it note. Talk to them and see what they want to know first. That way you can make sure when you're planning your unit study, you're hitting those things that they're the most interested in. And then you're going to fill it in with the other things that are important too. So there we go. We've talked to our kiddos. We found out what they want to know. So now we got to move to the next step. Step number 2 is to gather things you already have. Don't automatically run out and spend money. Think about, what do we already have at home that we can use? Luckily for us, we already had these Bear Grylls books because I'd already planned for this to be an elective during this third 6 weeks. So we already had these on hand. I didn't have to run out and get them. So go ahead and gather things you have on hand. You can already gather things at the library. You know, see what you already have. Do you already have games that fit this theme? Do you already have books? Are there websites you already know about? Go ahead and make a list of the things you already have, because that's going to help you in the long run not spend too much money. So that's the next step that you want to move on to. And then after you've gathered those things, you want to ask yourself, okay, what do I need to add to this? Are there any other books that I think would be helpful to help me carry out this unit study? And go ahead and make a list of them so you can check them out at your library, or you can order them on Amazon. If you see neat ideas for games, if you see anything that you're going to need to purchase or borrow from the library, go ahead and make a list of that now so that you can go ahead and start preparing for those things. The next thing you're going to want to do, and I will show you an overhead view of this so that you can look at it and copy it if you want to, it doesn't matter to me. The next thing you're going to do, and I did it in my trusty little notebook here, is I created an outline. And I will show you this overhead so you can write it down. I created an outline of the lessons. Now, I only went to 16 because something I've learned about our family, when we do a unit study, we are like trucking along for about 15 to 16 lessons, and then after that, we struggle to finish a unit. By then, we're pretty much burnt out on whatever topic it is, and we have a hard time finishing those last lessons. So I planned it to be about 15 to 16 lessons, and we can go that far if we want to. We can stop before then, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to go as long as there is interest, and we will stop when we're not interested anymore. So this is just an outline, as simple as how many lessons do you want to have and what do you want to make sure you include in each lesson. So for us, I knew it was a national park and a survival skills wilderness topic. So that's what I did. So all of the things in blue, and I know that's, you might not can see it, I'm sorry. Everything in blue is a national park, and everything written in black, those are the wilderness things that we're going to work on for that lesson. So this isn't very detailed. An outline's not supposed to be super detailed. It's just to give you some direction when we move on to the next step. So you're going to make that outline with your kids in mind, making sure you're filling in that outline with the things your kiddos ask about, and then filling in those things you think are important. All right, now we've got our outline made. Now what do? Now we're moving on to the part that can get a little bit overwhelming, and it probably scares a lot of parents away from making a unit study because it is overwhelming. It is a lot of stuff. When you're thinking, oh gosh, I've got to put this together for my child, I hope they're learning, it can get overwhelming. But I'm here to tell you, you can keep it simple and manageable, and it won't be hard at all. So this is what I like to do. When I'm ready to plan a unit study or I purchase a unit study from someone else, I do like to go ahead and make a Pinterest board for that unit. And when I start putting things in there, it's just whatever looks interesting to me. So I just start pinning everything I see that fits within our categories. I'm going to keep this outline in mind, and when I see something that comes up that has to do with one of the things on my outline, I'm going to go ahead and pin it. That board is going to just catch everything I find that has to do with it. Well, then you're going to end up with a board with 1,000 things on it, and that's okay because I'm going to show you how you can simply, when you start to plan the lesson, you can go through those things and click on those things and find out what you really, really want to use. So if you don't use Pinterest, do. It is so helpful, and it provides so many things. It can direct you to printables. It can direct you to websites. It can direct you to books that would be great for your unit studies, experiments, all kinds of things. So set up that Pinterest board. I just title it Unit Study, and I just fill it up. You're going to go through there later, and you're going to click on those links, and you're going to look and see, is this really useful? Is this something I'm going to use? If it is, you keep it. If not, you go ahead and delete it then so you can weed out all that stuff and you don't have a board full of things that are overwhelming you. So you're going to create that Pinterest board using your outline. You're going to start flipping through your books and seeing what pages go with each lesson, because you're not going to sit and read this book from front to back. I mean, that's usually not the plan for books like this. Now, you very well could. If you have a picture book and it goes with one of your lessons, yes, you're going to read it from front to back. But if you're like me and you're pulling from different resources, I'm going to go through with my outline and say, okay, I need something on essential gear. So I'm going to go find those pages that are in here, and I'm going to mark down what pages those are so that when it comes time for that lesson, I can go right to the pages that I need and I'm not having to search for them. So that's the second thing you're going to do. Flip through your resources and find and tag the pages that you need, or write down the page numbers you need for each of those lessons. I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. So, for instance, my first one is Great Smoky Mountains and Essential Gear. So, using my trusty notebook, this is where it gets a little more detailed. Now, to you, you'll be like, what does any of this mean? Well, I'll show you that in just a minute, but this is just where I'm writing the national park, each of the books, and the page numbers. So this is where I'm getting into more of that planning. Then I'm going to include what we're doing for history, and then what book I'm using, what pages, and what I want us to do in our notebooking journal. So this is where you're getting a little more detailed, where you're laying out the lessons, each one, and you're sitting there. So for lesson 1, I'm going to make sure I find that YouTube video, and I'm going to write it down on here. That's where I'm writing down the page numbers. This is where it gets a little more detailed to help you carry out your lessons. So Pinterest board, marking the pages in your book, and you could also do it like I am here. I'm just writing down the page numbers. Finding those videos on YouTube and going ahead and creating that playlist. Put them in one space so you can go right to that playlist and find your videos. I also have another video of how you could very well use Google Classroom to help you store unit study stuff as well. So if you don't know how to use Google Classroom for homeschool, you can go check out that video, because this will be a good place to house all your unit study things too. I just wanted to write on paper. Sometimes I'm just a paper planner. You're also during this step you're gonna start planning those activities. So you're using that Pinterest board, you're using your books, you're using YouTube, and you're gonna start planning your activities. So when I show you an overview, I'll explain this a little bit more. But it's really just that simple. It's talking to your kids, it's gathering what you already have and finding out what else you need, and then it's getting to the nitty-gritty of it. It's planning, it's Pinterest, it's YouTube, it's your books, it's all those kind of things. It's pulling everything you need and putting it together. And I promise you, your kiddos are going to love it. Number one, because it's something that they're interested in. And you're going to love doing it because you've gathered all this stuff and you've made it. So it makes you feel good to deliver that information to your children. So let me do some overviews, like overhead, of what my pages look like, so that you can see how simple it is to plan in a notebook, and hopefully it's going to help you. Okay guys, so here are my plans up close. Feel free to write any of this down or screenshot it. That is fine with me if you want to use this, because like I said, this is just something I'm creating for my son. So if you're interested in this, definitely screenshot it, take notes, whatever you need to do. So this is what the page looks like that I just wrote down his questions. You could write it on a Post-it. You could write it anywhere. Just make sure you're talking to your kiddos and you're taking down what they want to know, because that's going to help you plug into your outline. Next page I have is my outline. And like I mentioned earlier, the blue, those are the national parks, and the black, those are the topics for our survival school. Now, I know there are a ton of national parks out there, and I know there are a ton of things you could talk about when it comes to survival and camping and wilderness. But please keep in mind, you cannot teach all the things. Even though we want to, and we want to expose our kids to so many great things, it's just not possible for us to teach everything. So do narrow it down, and like I said, we're going to about 16 lessons. Narrow it down to what is manageable for your family, okay? So we just went through and picked out national parks that were interesting to us, or they were close to us, or they were somewhere that we may want to go one day. So definitely make it your own. You don't have to copy this. If you want to copy this, like I said, take a screenshot of it and you can use this outline too. Now, this page is what my planning process actually looks like. This is after I have gathered my materials and I've made that Pinterest board. I'm gonna have my outline beside me, and this is how I'm gonna plan. So I did put me a key at the top. So NP's National Park, JR's my Junior Ranger book, RR's Ranger Rick, YT is YouTube, H is for History, SC is for Survival Camp, and AP is for Extreme Planet. That way I'm not having to write out those long titles when I'm planning. One tip when you're planning these things, and it's not just for my unit study, if I'm using a Gather Round unit study and I'm trying to add videos or extra activities, do not try to do all of this in one day. I like to set aside about a week's time, and it's usually our week off from school. I like to set aside a week's time, and I like to plan about 5 lessons a day. For me, that's manageable. If you're one of these people that can get it done in one day, that is great, but that's not for me. It stresses me out. So 5 lessons a day is very manageable for me, and then I can put it away and I'm ready to start fresh the next day. So I'm going to share with you how I plan the first 3 lessons. This is what it looks like. So I have national parks. So we're doing the Great Smoky Mountains, which is one of our favorite places to go. These are all the pages that we're using in Ranger Rick and the Junior Ranger books. Then on YouTube, we're going to watch a short video about it. If you've not ever watched The Waldock Way, you need to check her out. She actually does have a unit study already done for you if you want to go purchase that from her about the national parks. But she also offers a free YouTube list where she has linked all the videos about the national parks that anybody can use. So that's where we'll be going to get our national park videos to watch. And so I just wrote Waldock Way playlist so I would know. And so it's just saved in my library, so I have it there for me. So that's all for the national park. Then my history is Who was Theodore Roosevelt? We're going to be reading that book. For survival camp, we're going to do essential gear. So I wrote what pages I could find it on. In my son's notebook, he's going to notebook about essential gear. And then we're going to go on a nature hike, scavenger hunt. If you want to see that scavenger hunt paper, it's actually in my third 6 weeks curriculum video, so you can check that out. But I got it from Pinterest. So when I was making that Pinterest board, I found that and I went ahead and pinned it, and I went back and looked at it when I was planning day one, and it was perfect. So I went ahead and printed it out. So that's a good idea to, as you're planning, to go ahead and print those things. Lesson 2, we're doing the Everglades. Here's the pages, the YouTube. We're doing history, chapter 1. And our topic for survival school that day is all about leaves. So we're going to use campfire curriculums because they had a really good lesson about leaf identification. We're going to use the leaf identification chart. And I just put Pinterest so I know, hey, go to Pinterest and print that out. You need that. We're doing a leaf hunt. And in our notebook, we're going to sketch and identify and write about those leaves. If we need an art project, Art Hub does have something where we can draw fall leaves. That's just extra. And then we're going to read in Planopedia these pages right here. So that's our lesson 2. Lesson 3 is for Biscayne. We're going to read from Ranger Rick. We're going to watch YouTube. We have a heritage letter about it. If you've never heard of Heritage Letter, go to their website and check them out. They're amazing. This is from our Junior Ranger book. Then we have poisonous plants. That's our topic. So survival camp, we'll read these pages. Planopedia, we'll read these pages. We're going to watch 10 plants that can kill you. That's on my YouTube playlist that I created at the beginning, and I called it Survival School. And then they're going to research a deadly plant, and in their notebook, that's where they will research and write about their deadly plant. And then in Extreme Planet, we'll read these pages. Now, if you order the Junior Ranger book and you're like, gosh, she's written down a bunch of page numbers, those are just all the pages that national park is listed. And that Junior Ranger book is just going to be for fun. It's not going to be something my son has to do. The Junior Ranger book is full of fill-ins and word scrambles and seek and find pages and things like that. It's really just an extra added fun. So those are just the page numbers that park is mentioned in. So I just want to throw that out there for you. So that's what my plans look like, and I will do this for each lesson. I will go through those books, those Pinterest boards, the YouTube channel, and I will write it down just like this for every single lesson so that when I'm ready to start, all I have to do is pull this out and it will be ready for me to go. So let me show you the materials we're using. In case you haven't seen my curriculum video, let me show you what we're using. I'll go ahead and show you a few of the printables that I've already printed. So for instance, we needed the leaf identification chart. These things are free. I found them for free on Pinterest. I also printed out trail signs because we are going to talk about what happens if you get lost and how to mark your trail. At some point, we are going to do animal tracks. I think that's later on in the unit, but we are going to talk about animal tracks. And I have tons of other things that are on my Pinterest board that when I get to that lesson, that's when I will start printing those things. So the other materials we're using is Who was Theodore Roosevelt? We love the Who Was series. They're an excellent way to present history in a way that's relatable. So I love those books. Also, we love these Top Trumps game. We did Top Trumps North American Wildlife and loved it. So I got the National Parks version. This is the Junior Ranger activity book, and like I said, we're not covering this from front to back. It is simply an activity book. So It's got quizzes and seek and finds and bet you didn't know. I mean, it's got all kinds of things in there. We're going to use Plantopedia, Bear Grylls Survival Camp, Ranger Rick's National Parks, Bear Grylls Extreme Planet, and then this is with the skills of a camper from Campfire Curriculums. I've pulled a lot of their lessons to use for this unit study. I'm going to leave their link, like I said, down below. Go check out their website. You will love what you see there. They have some excellent things. And the last thing I wanted to share with you is when I'm all done, I do reverse planning also. So yes, I have those sheets in my notebook of where everything is so I can go find it when I need it. But at the end of the day, we may not do all of that. We may get some of it done. We may do more than that if my son comes up with other ideas. So I made this little lesson plan box. And so at the end of lesson 1 and the end of that day, I will come in here and I'll write down exactly what we did. I love to reverse plan. It takes the stress off of, am I checking all the boxes? So I will come in and write that in for each lesson. This gives me a record of what we did during our third 6 weeks and lets me look back on how much we covered in our unit study. So this is all the things I used to plan and for resources. So if you have any questions about those, you can definitely put those down in the comments. And like I said, I will have all of the books linked down below along with Campfire Curriculum's website. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helped you plan a unit study. You can use my ideas if you want to. I'll link all the books that I used for this unit study down below. They are Amazon affiliate links. So if you don't mind using those, I would appreciate it. But I'll link everything we used, including the game and the book we're using for history. I'm also going to link Campfire Curriculums because I am using that to help plan my unit study. I talked about it in our third 6 weeks homeschool curriculum video, so I will link their website so you can go check that out. But I hope this helps. If you have any more questions about how to plan a unit study, or if you need some ideas, if you're planning a unit study and you need some ideas, I love talking about things like that. So just leave it down in the comments and I will definitely get back to you. And as always, thank you so much for watching.